On a quiet Friday night in Ridgewater Canyon, firefighters responded to what they thought was a tragic accident: a burning SUV mangled at the bottom of a ravine. Inside, they discovered the charred remains of a woman, a melted wedding ring fused to her finger, and a necklace identical to the one worn daily by 34-year-old mother of two, Emily Carter. For a moment, it seemed like a devastating end to a missing person case. But within hours, the entire investigation would collapse, dividing the community in half and exposing the kind of truth no one was prepared to face. Emily's husband, Daniel Carter, reported her missing just 6 hours before the fire. He claimed they'd argued, she stormed out, and never returned. To many, Daniel's calmness wasn't grief, it was guilt. Neighbors remembered the shouting they heard that night, the slammed doors, the tension that seemed to cling to the walls of the Carter home. Some swore Daniel had a temper, that Emily had confided she felt controlled, watched, even afraid. But others rushed to defend him. Daniel volunteered at the youth center, coached soccer, fixed neighbors' fences. He was the helpful guy, the loyal husband, the reliable friend. They said Emily had been stressed, unhappy, even talking about running away, and so the town split, half whispering that Daniel murdered his wife, the other half convinced he was being framed by the very woman they believed abandoned him. The fire investigators made their first mistake the moment they assumed the burned body was Emily. They didn't check the height, they didn't confirm the dental records, they didn't freeze Daniel's house. For 36 hours, he came and went freely. Enough time to clean, destroy, rearrange, if he needed to. Then came the second mistake. A woman called 911, claiming she'd seen Emily alive the day after the fire. The dispatcher dismissed it as a cruel prank. But the third mistake was the most damaging of all. No one questioned why. The jewelry found on the body looked almost too perfect, too preserved, too replaceable. It wasn't until the coroner examined the remains that everything fell apart. The victim in the SUV wasn't Emily. Not the height, not the bones, not the teeth. This wasn't a grieving husband. This was a staged death. And suddenly, the $1 million insurance policy Daniel had taken out on Emily 6 months earlier didn't look like a coincidence. Detectives confronted him. Daniel insisted he was devastated, that he believed Emily had crashed and burned. But surveillance footage told a different story. A day before the fire, Daniel was caught on camera at a local boutique purchasing a necklace. The same necklace they found on the burned body. When investigators searched the SUV site again, they discovered something Daniel hadn't anticipated: a partial fingerprint on the replica jewelry. It didn't belong to the victim. It didn't belong to Emily. It belonged to Daniel. When asked why his fingerprint was there, he claimed Emily had handled the necklace days earlier. But forensic analysis revealed the print was fresh, placed no more than 24 hours before the fire. Even then, some community members defended him. "It's a setup," one neighbor argued. "Emily wasn't happy. Maybe she wanted to disappear." Others insisted the opposite. If she vanished willingly, why stage a body? Why frame her own husband? Why burn a stranger? Interviews painted a darker picture. Emily told her sister she felt trapped. She told her co-worker that if anything happened to her, they should look closer. In one chilling moment, she confided, "I think he watches me at night." But then, investigators uncovered something no one expected: footage from a storage facility, showing Daniel entering with a duffel bag, and Emily walking out 20 minutes later, alive, nervous, carrying a backpack. It proved two things: she planned to leave, and Daniel knew she was alive. That footage triggered a nationwide search. Detectives found Emily 2 weeks later, hiding in a motel, thin, exhausted, and terrified. She confirmed everything investigators feared. "Daniel wanted me to disappear so he could collect the insurance money," she said. "At first I agreed. I was scared of him, scared of what would happen if I said no. But when she backed out at the last moment, Daniel panicked. Emily denied any knowledge of the burned body. She denied planting the jewelry. She denied the fire. But she said something else, something that sent a chill through every person listening. Daniel didn't do this alone. That statement changed everything. A major power shift in the investigation. If Daniel wasn't the only person involved, then someone else out there was capable of finding a victim, staging a fire, and framing a man who was guilty of one crime, fraud, but perhaps not murder. Still, Daniel was arrested, charged with insurance fraud, arson, evidence tampering, and attempted faking of death. As he was led out of the courthouse, half the town applauded. The other half protested his innocence, waving signs that read, "Emily lied," and "Frame job." But just when it seemed justice was finally coming into focus, detectives received a late-night call. A second burned vehicle had been found on an abandoned logging road. Same staging, same replica jewelry, same method. And this time, the body matched Emily's height exactly. The case wasn't over. The real story hadn't even begun. And if Emily was right, if Daniel had a partner, the next victim might already be chosen. Because justice has a way of revealing itself, but not always in time. When detectives arrived at the second burned vehicle, a cold dread settled over the investigation. Everything about the scene mirrored the first fire. Same positioning of the car, same accelerant pattern, same melted jewelry placed neatly on the victim. But unlike the first case, this victim's height, bone structure, and dental records were a near-perfect match for Emily. The discovery sent shockwaves through Ridgewater Canyon. The people who believed Daniel was innocent suddenly doubled down, claiming investigators had arrested the wrong person and that someone was framing him a second time, and doing it with alarming precision. Those who believed Daniel was guilty became even louder, insisting the second body was proof he had manipulated the entire investigation, even from behind bars. But forensic analysis soon uncovered a detail that shifted the entire narrative. The jewelry on the second victim was not just similar to Emily's, it was Emily's. The real pieces she wore daily, the ones only she had access to after leaving Daniel. And tucked inside the passenger seat was a motel keycard from the same place Emily had been found hiding 2 weeks earlier. Detectives realized quickly that Emily had been at that remote logging road. Whether willingly or by force, that remained unclear. Terrified, investigators rushed to relocate Emily, but when they arrived at the motel, her room door swung open with a single push. Inside, the bed was neatly made, the shower wet, and the window pried open. Emily was gone. Again. But this time, there was blood on the carpet. A small smear. Not enough to indicate death, but enough to suggest she hadn't left willingly. As officers sealed the room, a housekeeper stepped forward with something she'd found while changing the sheets. A handwritten note, folded twice, left under the mattress. It read, "If anything happens, tell them to check the river. And tell them he wasn't working alone." Meanwhile, Daniel requested a second interview from jail. His attorney insisted he had critical new information. Detectives reluctantly agreed. When they entered the interview room, Daniel looked different. Pale, trembling, eyes sunken, as if he hadn't slept since the second body was discovered. He leaned forward and whispered, "I told you she was in danger. I tried to stop this." For the first time, Detectives saw something in him they hadn't seen before. Fear. Real fear. "Stop what?" the lead detective asked. Daniel swallowed hard. "You think Emily ran because of me? No. She ran because someone was helping me. Someone who didn't want her backing out." When asked who he was referring to, Daniel hesitated, glancing at the one-way mirror as though expecting someone to burst through it. "You won't believe me," he whispered. "No one ever does. But the person you're looking for works with you." The room fell silent. Then Daniel leaned back and said nothing else. He refused to identify anyone. He refused to elaborate. All he said, again and again, was, "You already know who it is." Investigators dismissed his claim as a desperate attempt to redirect suspicion until a new piece of evidence surfaced. A traffic camera captured the second burned vehicle being followed by a dark SUV hours before it was set on fire. A detective assigned to review the footage swore he recognized the vehicle. Same make, same scratches, same bumper sticker, and it belonged to one of their own officers. The officer claimed the footage was manipulated, claimed the SUV must have been stolen, claimed he had been home all night. But when investigators reviewed his body cam logs, they discovered an unexplained 92-minute gap, one he couldn't account for. And in that same window of time, Emily disappeared. As pressure increased, the officer abruptly took leave, citing personal reasons, and disappeared before internal affairs could question him. The entire police department went into panic mode. The media caught wind. The town erupted in chaos. For the first time, people began to wonder if Daniel had actually been telling the truth. But then came the moment that turned the entire investigation upside down. At sunrise, a fisherman reported seeing something tangled in branches along the riverbank. Detectives rushed to the scene, expecting the worst. Instead, they found a soaking wet phone, cracked but still flickering with power. Emily's phone, and on it, a single unsent video recording, shaking hands, heavy breathing, Emily whispering, "If they find this, tell my kids I love them. He's here. The video cut off, abruptly, violently. But just as investigators prepared to send the phone to forensics, one of them noticed something chilling beneath the cracked screen. An open text message draft typed only halfway before the recording began. It read, "I finally know who's behind everything. It's..." The rest of the name was deleted, not erased, deleted mid-keystroke. Detectives stared at the phone, realizing Emily was moments away from revealing the mastermind before she was taken. And the final clue, faint, almost invisible, was a reflection in the cracked glass. A face behind her. Someone familiar. Someone the investigators recognized instantly. But before they could identify the figure, the screen went black, permanently. And the next morning, that same officer who fled the night before was found unconscious at the edge of the river, alive, barely breathing, and clutching Emily's missing necklace in his hand. When he finally woke up, the first words he spoke were, "You're chasing the wrong person." And then he named someone no one ever expected, someone still walking free, someone dangerously close to the investigation. But before he could explain further, the monitors flatlined, and the person he accused vanished the same night, which means the real mastermind is still out there, and Emily may still be alive. But the most terrifying part? Detectives just received a package delivered anonymously to the station. No return address, no fingerprints, just a single USB drive. And what's on that drive changes everything.